Hello and welcome to Deacon's Virtual Open Day. My name is Dr. Sevi Vassos, and today I'm joined by Professor Beth Crisp and Associate Professor Priscilla Dunk-West. We're absolutely thrilled to have you here with us to explore the Bachelor of Social Work. We'll also be hosting a live Q&A session after this information session so that we can answer any questions that you might have. So you can actually start writing your questions in the panel on the right-hand side of your screen, and these will be responded to during the live Q&A. As we gather here to learn a little bit more about the Bachelor of Social Work, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the lands on which Deakin has its campuses. I'd particularly like to acknowledge the unceded lands of the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation, which is where I am at the moment, which is part of Waterfront Campus, or where Waterfront Campus is on. And I would like to pay my respects to the ancestral spirits, to elders, past, present and emerging, of the Wadawurrung people. I also acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation and the Djimara people who have a continuing connection to the land and waterways and community. And I'd like to express my gratitude for the First Nations people's care of the land, and they've continued to sustain this land for many, many thousands of years. Education has a long and rich heritage on this continent, which we aim to honour and reflect in the ways we teach and we learn here at Deakin. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of social work and what social work is, and why social work at Deakin might be a choice for you to make. I'd also like to talk through a few things around course structure and entry requirements, and also what careers you might pursue as graduates of the Deakin Social Work program. So let's kick it off with, what is social work? Now, a key role for social work is improving the quality of life of people and communities. Often we work with those who are vulnerable or marginalised in some or many different ways. So social work is a discipline that is value-based, and our main value is being to work and to value the intrinsic worth and dignity of people, no matter what their circumstances. So we're often working within ethical dilemmas, which are often challenging but invigorating aspects of work also. My career led me to work with people who had recently arrived to Australia because they were survivors of torture or trauma in their places of birth. And I've also worked in the Commonwealth Government in a completely different role, where I was actually looking after the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander services, but also migrant services within the Commonwealth Government at Centrelink for 16 years, before I decided to go back out into the community and actually take on an advocacy role around refugees and particularly asylum seekers. So you can see there that social work can be rather broad, but ultimately, whether we're working with individual people or whether we're working with communities, or even when we're working around policy, our emphasis is on actually enabling people to be empowered so that their lives change and they can better their life circumstances. Okay, so if you're someone who's concerned with issues of social justice and you're passionate about the rights and interests and needs of the most vulnerable people in our community, social work is potentially a profession for you. So just to give you a little more information about social work, many people often come to social work because they're concerned about a particular social issue or a range of issues, issues like domestic violence or refugees and asylum seekers or juvenile justice or poverty. Often many of us who come to social work with lived experiences of some of these social issues. And that's what often prompts us to actually be part of a profession that is all about helping other people improve their life circumstances. Okay, so social work is a growing profession. So the Australian Government Employment website attests to the fact that unemployment for social workers is really, really low. And growth of jobs is predicted within the next 5 years. There are many ways to be a social worker. As I explained to you, my journey started in a very small community-based organisation working with refugees and migrants, and then I went on to work at government and a huge government organisation that was nationwide, and then I went to a state service. So there's different places that you can work at as a social worker, and certainly there are different things that you can do as a social worker. Many social workers don't actually have the title social work in their job description because they're working in organisations across a range of different things. But what binds us together is this focus on making things more equitable, challenging and resisting power structures that actually keep people in disadvantaged positions. So that's what we're on about. We're on about the human rights of individuals and families and communities. So we can work in a range of different sort of contexts, like in crisis intervention or with individuals in more medium to long-term counselling, or we can work with communities and actually encourage communities to take on a political stance and change things within their neighbourhoods, or we can be talking to politicians and looking to shift government policies that are, in ways disadvantaging particular groups. So why study here at Deakin? Well, we actually work really, really hard here at Deakin to make learning accessible to a wide range of students. So many of our students are mature age students. Many of our students have got family commitments and work commitments. And what we seek to do is give people an opportunity to come into studying social work when in past times they may not have had those opportunities. So 2/3 of our students actually study online. So they study online for most of the time, and we invite them in for some intensive face-to-face sessions, up to 20 days for the whole course. There's some face-to-face classes, but generally online students will study online. Then we have another cohort, a smaller cohort of students who actually come and do all of their classes face-to-face. So there's flexible arrangements here at Deakin. So you could be studying online or face-to-face, or a bit of both. So often we have a range of options to enable you to be able to study here at Deakin. The other thing is, as part of a social work course, you gain over 1,000 hours of industry experience. So there are 2 placements that are attached to this course, and those 2 placements are there to prepare you for life and work as a seasoned practitioner. We offer full-time and part-time, and there are options to go, COVID permitting, there are options to going overseas also for one of your placements, or doing a study tour overseas. And you'll notice when you come to Deakin, you'll notice that there's a diversity of students. So we have people from very different backgrounds, different ages, different genders, different ethnicities, different life circumstances. So there's a richness there around exchanging ideas with groups of people who offer quite different perspectives from your own. So, as I said before, you have 1,000 hours of practical experience as part of your course here. And a lot of the assessment work that we do is based in real life practice. So you would do assessments that will help you actually practice in the real world. So we don't do the stock standard exams for every unit, because we're more interested in how you apply your learning to real life situations. So in doing this course, you end up being accredited for the Australian Association of Social Workers, you know, tick of approval, if you like. So you can become a member of the Australian Association of Social Work as part of when you graduate from this particular course, because they actually ensure the quality of our education. We have a range of facilities here at Deakin, and one of the most exciting things about your education in social work in Deakin is that we have a range of online simulations. So we are very big on simulating practice learning, so that you're not only learning from textbooks and from discussions, but you're learning from real life case scenarios. And of course, as I mentioned before, you get to even really hone your skills by going out into a real world practice organisation. And in fact, 2 real life practice organisations, because there are 2 placements. All right, in terms of studying online, we've got a lot of experience. And in fact, when COVID hit in 2020, where other universities had struggled quite seriously to be able to resume their classes, it was quite seamless for us, because we've got 40 years of experience in online learning. So all of our digital platforms, our learning resources are actually quite advanced. Another thing that that I'd like to impress on you is that there are a range of financial supports and scholarships as part of study here at Deakin. So on the screen there, you'll see that there is a web page for scholarships. Access to most information about Deakin can be accessed through Google. If you just plug in Deakin scholarships, Deakin financial support, you'll actually be taken to the right page, where you get a lot of information about what sorts of scholarships are available for students and what sort of activities are supported in terms of bursaries. And you'll be pleased to know that your 1,000 hours of placement, there are bursaries to support that work integrated learning for particular groups of people. So I encourage you to go and look at the relevant slide, the relevant web page there, to actually access information about these bursaries and scholarships. So we've got a number of quotes here from students of ours, recent student of ours, who have been part of the Deakin community and are now fully fledged social workers and practicing. So here's one from Carmel Stephian, who completed her studies with us online. So you can see there that Carmel has been particularly supported or felt supported by the learning environment and the collaborative approach that we take in our teaching and learning. And here you have Georgina. She joins also part of our Bachelor of Social Work program, but unlike Carmel, Georgina did her program face-to-face. And as you can see here, she was attracted to Deakin because of word of mouth and the wonderful things that people continue to say about our program here at Deakin. All right. So what's the course about? Well, it's a 4-year course full-time, and also you have the part-time option of 8 years. So with a 4-year course, you start off with a range of subjects that are related to social work. They're your core subjects around sociology and psychology and health. And you have some social work subjects in there also. Additionally, once you get to your 2nd year, you're doing more of the core social work subjects, and you have access to electives. So at the end of your 2nd year, or the second part of your 2nd year, you do a unit called Placement Readiness, Preparing for Supervised Social Work Practice, and that will enable you or prepare you for your practice learning, which is your first field education placement in your first trimester of the 3rd year. And then after you've been out for 14 weeks or 500 hours, you know, out there testing your knowledge and your skills, you actually come back to get some more learning, some more academic learning before you go out again in your 4th year. Now, if you're traveling really well and you're interested in research, also get the opportunity to join the honours program in your 4th year. So there's a slightly different course structure for honours, but we will tell you more about that. And we start talking to you about honours in the 1st year, in the 1st trimester. So there's going to be plenty of opportunities to talk about research and honours streams if you're interested. Okay, so course details, basically. There are different pathways into the course. It's 4 years full-time or equivalent part-time, which is roughly 8 years. You can come in via VCE. So if you've done your 3rd and 4th year units and you've achieved at least 30 in your English language skills and 25 if you're in English as an English other than the standard English language, and that's for students who are from a non-English speaking background. And if your ATAR is sitting at about 73 plus, then you can come into the face-to-face program, or if your ATAR is sitting at 70 plus, you can also come into the online program. You can come into the program if you're coming through at least having done a certificate for in a related discipline, things like community services or alcohol and other drugs. So certificates in those areas, or mental health, all of those certificates in those areas can enable you to come into the program also. So if you've completed either your VCE or a TAFE certificate at level 4 or above, you can come into the program. We do ask that you provide us with some information such as transcripts and the like for us to be able to assess whether you're able to come into the program. Sometimes we ask you to even provide a personal statement to talk to us about why it is that you're interested in social work, to enable us to make those assessments. So we encourage you to make your application. We're very keen to have a variety of different people in our courses, and certainly we're very keen to support you to complete your course and become a qualified social worker. We've also have the availability of entry for international students. So what I would encourage international students to do is to actually make contact with the international office if there are any international students in the audience, and they will be able to talk you through what you need to do in order to in order to enter as an international student. So, as I was saying before, there are a number of pathways into social work. You can study at high school and get your ATAR and then come in, or if you haven't got your ATAR, or your ATAR has lapsed, if you've done study in a TAFE at level 4 or certificate 4 rather, or higher in a related discipline, then you can certainly come into the program. We also have a Master of Social Work program, and that's for students who have already done an undergraduate degree and are wanting to qualify as a social worker. So instead of doing the 4 years, because they've already done an undergraduate degree, which is usually 3 years, we actually get them to come in as a Master of Social Work student and do 2 years in order to qualify as a social worker. Now, just wanted to highlight to you that social work is a thriving business, if I can call it that, because it's not really a business. It's more of a calling. And you'll see just through these job postings on seek.com, for example, there were 36,500 social work related job posts in the previous 30 days from the 10th of March. That is nationwide. So there are lots and lots of jobs for qualified social workers. So it's a good investment in terms of being able to move forward into a career. Now, projected employment for the growth of social workers is forecast to increase by 23% by 2026. So 2026, if you commence in 2023 and you're doing the program full time, you'll be hitting that growth spurt in terms of careers in social work. So you can work, as I mentioned previously, in a wide range of fields. You can work in local, state or federal government departments, or you can work in non-government organisations that provide social services or health services, and you can also work in business organisations. There are a lot of business organisations, like, for example, legal firms that actually hire social workers now. They hire social workers to work alongside of the lawyers around issues that impact people's social justice. You can be working with individuals, with families, with communities. You can be doing that face-to-face counselling or casework, or you can be advocating for changes in policy, or even doing research that will enable you to argue a particular point with government to get things changed. So it's very diverse in terms of a career. And as I was saying, it's very diverse, and these are some of the areas in which social workers work. So policy development and research, counselling that I mentioned before, family therapy is a growing field for social workers, as is drug and alcohol counselling. Community development work is that grassroots work that we do with groups of people in their communities and in their neighbourhoods to get things changed within their communities. Refugee assistance, and even tribunal work. Social workers are often in tribunals to help make decisions around situations such as reviews and appeals of government decisions. So, range of different roles that we take, and as I said right at the beginning, very few social work jobs carry the title social work. They're often called different things like careers counsellors and case managers and child and family counsellors and drug and alcohol case workers and a range of other things. So thanks for joining us for this pre-recorded information session, and please stick around for our live Q&A now so that you can have your questions answered. And certainly if you have any further questions, you can keep on putting them or recording them on your screen so that they'll be picked up by the panel. Alternatively, you can ask your questions live. And I'd encourage you to join us on campus for the open day in August, because we're back. We're back after so many years of not being able to do face-to-face. We are able to open up our doors again this year in August, and we're hoping to see you face-to-face so that we can give you a real-life view of what it's like to study at Deakin. Thank you very much.